Occult Confessions is brought to you commercial-free through the generous support of our patrons. Visit occultconfessions.com and click on Donate to help keep the history of the occult on the digital airwaves. My name is Dr. Rob C. Thompson, and I'm the Supreme Hierophant of the Alchemical Actors, bringing you a special episode today on the intersection of sexuality and Christianity, specifically among gay believers or former believers. Using the word gay loosely today, we're going to have representatives from various LGBTQ communities. But I'm sitting here with someone you all know and love, Jacob Wheatley, who's got to reintroduce himself to you because Jacob has been to Florida and now he is living in Seattle, and now he goes by
Jake. So I hate to break the news to everyone, but you all have to call me Jake, and there's no way around it. I will send people to your door if you say Jacob ever again. So I'm southern Florida to, well, I guess that's mid Florida to now West Coast, man. So call me Jake.
Gotta be Jake. But you still are our Knight of the Dangling Serpent, are you not?
Oh, always and forever the Knight of the Dangling Serpent. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We, the members of the Secret Order of Alchemical Actors, do solemnly commit ourselves to a full and honest telling of the history of the occult as far as we know it. Like riding a bike, man.
Oh, yeah. Feels good.
All right there, Jake. Before I even get into this, because, you and I, we know each other well over the years.
We know each other fairly well. Yeah, you're right.
Fairly well. And some of the things you're going to tell me today, we've talked about before. I think you're probably going to tell me things I haven't heard because you and I have, I think, never sat down and specifically talked about this.
I don't think I've ever really
this is our conversation, right?
I don't think I've ever really delved. Like, I mean, I've like brushed the surface and stuff to be like, hey, like these are some things that happen, but I don't think I've ever actually like dived into like my whole stance and experience and stuff on all of it.
Yeah, just to like commit ourselves to like this is all we're talking about.
Yeah.
But now the other thing, as I've known you, you have moved around the L's, the G's, the B's, the Q's. Where are you today?
Where am I? Okay, so well, I guess that's the thing. Like, I don't know anyone who's ever actually been like just. Well, I guess some people can be like set like if they discover it, but like my experience has been all over the place, and now I've discovered that I am pansexual and demisexual. So pansexual, like my attraction can be with anyone despite gender. Demisexual is I require more of like an emotional attachment before the sexual attachment like comes into it. So yeah,
I hear that. I can identify with some of that. Sexuality is a spectrum after all. All right, so let's get into this. Let's start with your deep, dark childhood, shall we?
Oh, perfect. Therapy.
So I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
Tell me, did you have what you would qualify as a Christian upbringing?
It is safe to assume that I did indeed have a Christian upbringing. Both of my parents are pastors. We have been all over I don't know if I can say spectrum of Christianity, but I guess, from like Methodist to Pentecostal to non-denominational to Baptist. We were very fluid with all Christianity. So yeah.
With your parents being pastors, so they were pastors in how many of those denominations?
They were youth leaders. Technically, they were about to be ordained for Methodist, except it was mostly just my dad at the time. This was when I was younger, because there was a hot minute, specifically with I don't want to assume it's with all Methodists, but with the sect, I guess, that we were under, women weren't necessarily allowed to be in a specific position. They could have some ordination, but they couldn't be like to like a higher point. It might have changed now. I don't know. So it was mostly my dad, but then they both became pastors under the Pentecostal, specifically the Church of God denomination.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you then hang with that, or is it you still had more denominations after that?
Then after Pentecostal is the one that they kind of were just like writing out, and then towards the end, I don't want to say end because it's still going. They they are ordained under Pentecostal Church of God. They still preach, but they prefer to go more of the non-denominational route, even though they technically have their ordination under. I was going to say under
Got it.
God, but like under Church of
Oh
God
yeah,
specifically.
we're all under God here.
Under God, yeah.
So, all right, now let me ask that tough question.
Mm-hmm.
What impact would you say this has had on you discovering your sexuality?
It's safe to say it was definitely a huge impact on it. It took me a while actually to come to terms with who I am, and my interests, because being like told that it's not okay, and then being sent away and stuff, it put
What in particular was not okay?
the fact that I was attracted to people of the same sex as me.
Okay.
Yeah. That, and like I have heard it growing up. I never really was like exposed to the world much. I joke around a little bit. This is like slightly veering off, but that like I didn't even know that there was any other music besides like Christian music for the longest time, because we just weren't allowed to like listen to anything until we switched denominations, and that denomination was a little bit more relaxed. But even then, still being told that it's being part of the community isn't okay, and you have to fix yourself essentially.
Well, so you did know that there were gays then.
I did
There were gay
eventually.
people in the world.
Yeah. So like I
Yes.
didn't know that there was gay people in the world. No, I'm joking. I like it was when I was like younger. I watched a movie and I saw someone in the movie that I was like, oh, they're attractive. And then I was like, wait a second, they're like me. That's interesting. I didn't think that was allowed.
Oh.
Yeah. And
So
then
that's your immediate second thought, though.
yeah, I didn't I and for the
Thought
long
one is I'm having this attraction, and thought two is this is bad.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
that's was my process for the up until I was like later in my teens, honestly.
Go on.
Oh
Then what
yeah,
happened?
okay. Then what happened? Then, um, I, I think the shift happened that I just was like, this is a thing. Was in my later teens. I started to act upon it. Like I act upon it, meaning like I just would like text people and be like, "Hey, like you're cute," and then they would say the same thing, and then I'd be like, "Oh, this is awesome." But then even then, I still had this like I would basically go through this whole thing that I would be talking to someone, and this was probably when I was maybe like 17 or something like that, and I would talk to them, then I would like get ready to like go to bed, and in that moment the religious guilt would just come over me, and I would be like, oh my gosh, I have to ask for forgiveness for this. And I would basically be like, God, I'm sorry, I promise I won't do this again. And then the next day I found myself that I was like, well, I keep doing this, like I can't help it. And then the more rebellious streaks started to hit, that the more people were telling me what I couldn't do, the more I just decided I was going to do it anyways. And
How did you think of yourself? Did you think, oh, I'm evil?
that's actually like of where a huge part of my battle with like depression and stuff started coming into play. Was I got so down on myself all the time, being, for one, hearing it from everyone else, specifically like my immediate family, like my parents and sibling and stuff, that being told that I was just going to be sent to hell, essentially. It started like weighing on me a lot. And then you have these people that you're supposed to trust and learn from because you grow up with them and they're the ones who are teaching you these things. And when that's ingrained in you so much, it sticks. So then I started telling myself this too, and I would be like, I'm living my life, but at the same time I kind of like started hating who I was after a point. and I got to like a weird place that I just was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do anything anymore, one way or another, whether it's like going full into the community and like figuring out who I am, or having my life in this like religious community. Like I couldn't do either, because no matter which side, it was just kind of rough.
Why is that? So you're talking about the gay community or the religious community?
Both, honestly, because I like I had this like struggle that I was going through, that I grew up in Christianity, and it is, even like to this day, I have a very different stance on it now, but to this day, like it still is like a huge part of me. But back then, specifically in my teen years, it was almost like I had to choose one or the other. And at that point, I didn't want to, because was I was still getting the religious like emotional connection and stuff, and like the like nice feelings that you get out of it when you are like, listen, I guess I don't this is kind of like hard to describe, but like when you're listening to like Christian music and it's like this very nice like feeling, that was kind of my attachment to Christianity, was through that. And I was like, I can't give this up, but then at the same time, I want to like find someone to love, you know? So
But those didn't jive together. They had to be in oil and water.
very much so, oil and water. And I didn't think it was possible for them to coexist. Like I would see people who were members of like churches, and they would have like pride flags and stuff out, and I genuinely, like, I was so stubborn in the fact that I was like, that's not what I was told, so I don't think that's a thing. So
they're making that up. They're on the wrong side of the law there.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you can't have both, right?
Yeah. I'm going to mention a couple of words here, and if you don't want to talk about it, we'll edit out that I mentioned them.
That's okay. I'm feeling very open today, so we're good. We're good. Let's just roll with it.
Here we go. Those two words are, and you're not going to be surprised to hear them, conversion therapy.
Oh boy. Yeah. It's those are words that I think that they will follow me until probably the end of my time.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Give me an age. What age? Because I don't think you ever told me exactly when this happened to you.
Okay.
I had a vague sense it was in your teenage years.
Yeah. So I was actually I was 16 when I went in. I was 17 when I came out. No pun intended, but
I have missed talking to you.
I've missed talking to you too. But yeah, so I was 16 through 17. Actually, I got my license while I was in conversion therapy. It was wild. Actually, so have I ever told you the full story? I will tell the public if they want to know, because
let's do it.
Yeah, because this is one thing that like I do love telling people this story specifically, because it's like, it's funny to some degree, but then also it gives like light that conversion therapy is a thing that still happens like to this day, and we gotta fix that, because it's physically, emotionally, and mentally like harmful to people. So the reason I guess the beginning stages of it was, I went to the beach one day with my friends, and my mom ended up driving us. None of us could drive. Actually, I was the only one who was going to be able to, but I ended up failing my test shortly before this trip to the beach. Ironically, I ended up getting my license while I was in conversion therapy. So, maybe it was meant to happen. Who knows? But we ended up going, and my mom ended up seeing a notification on my phone that I matched with someone. And it happened to be a boy's name. And she shut down for the rest of the day and didn't say anything. And I kind of was like, I was pretty aware that something was going on. I assumed it was just my friends were probably acting up and she didn't like it. But I ended up finding out later that night that she saw, because in the middle of the night, she woke me up, took me to the room, and my family ended up deciding it was almost like an intervention, but I wasn't able to say my piece. And they were saying the like typical things that you would expect very like religious people who are against the community to say.
And it's the middle of the night, so it's sort of like one of those talk shows where the boot camp guy runs in and grabs you out of your bed.
Yeah, I was like expecting Ashton Kutcher to like pop out of somewhere and be like, "Hey, you're punked," and then I was like, "Oh, you got me." But
did you try to play it off? Did you try to say, "Oh no, that's Jamie. That's a girl's name too," or any of this? Or
I mean, the name was Christopher, so like it was pretty hard to.
She's a beautiful girl, Christopher.
She's a beautiful girl, Christopher. Yeah, so I am not a good liar at all. It's very
and yet
obvious.
you're an actor.
And yet I'm an actor. So ironically, when I'm playing someone else, I'm great at it. But when I'm myself, I can't do it. I can try. Because in that moment I tried to be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. But immediately, like within a matter of seconds, I was like, I mean, there's no point in me like trying to lie about this. You clearly saw. So I don't know.
And they're putting on heavy pressure.
Yeah, very loud, heavy pressure. And that's kind of where the initial like it getting ingrained in me how much I needed to despise this part of me like stemmed from was that night, because I started hearing the things that I ended up like I started saying to myself for years after, about like, hey, you're going to hell, like this is disgusting, like you don't belong, you're not a part of this family. And it was just these like weird like bad trauma mantras that started to like develop. And then shortly after that, I was put in a sort of like lockdown, in like almost like house arrest, kind of, that I wasn't allowed to leave the house. They took all of my electronics away from me. I didn't have like any contact with the world.
This is summertime, so you don't have school.
Yeah, this is summertime, so I didn't have school. Actually, when I ended up going back to school, my senior year, everyone was like, what happened to you? And I was like, oh, that's a loaded question right now. We'll get to that later. Because
so how long were you cut off?
I was cut off from May until August.
So a whole summer.
Yeah, a whole summer. No one heard from me. Because I guess like we started back into school the end of August, beginning of September, and that's when everyone like saw me again. Everyone was like, we thought like something happened to you, because I have a tendency to also like just disappear for a while too, because I just recluse for a little bit. But like this was the longest that anyone had like experienced it, and they were like, we weren't sure if we should come like check on you, which that wouldn't have been good. But yeah, I was put into like a lockdown in the house for a couple months, and then at the end of that month is when I was like sent into conversion therapy, where
in August.
This was May to June, then July.
Okay. So
June,
during the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
During the lockdown is when I was released, quote unquote, by the time school hit. But because also the whole like therapy session thing was over. It only
What were you thinking? Were you thinking, because of everything they've said, I should go, I should do this? Or
I didn't really
what was your attitude?
I didn't have, well, for one, I didn't have much of a say because I was underage. And if you're underage, your parents have every right to determine.
Commit you.
Yeah, to commit you, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they did.
Yeah.
But I really like, it's sad to say, I'm in a very different place now. So I'm also significantly older than then. But I really like, I hated myself. I more so like, I started taking the side of my family too. I was like, they're right. Everything they said was right. Like, I'm the problem here. Like, I'm the one who has to be fixed. But then at the same time, there was like this like feeling inside of me that was like, that's not true. You know, that's not true. So why are you like feeding into this? But then at the same time, I was like, I just did it for my family, because I didn't want to deal with them really, and I knew this was the easiest way to like pacify them. But then
so you would say at this point you did it voluntarily,
to a degree, yeah, but I did
under
it
duress.
Yeah, under duress. But at the same time, I still like I couldn't have said no to them, because like I said, I was underage, so what they said went, even if I wanted
Yeah.
to say no. Yeah. But
Yeah, that makes sense. And then what can you tell us about this experience?
it's I think some parts I still have like locked away that I don't remember completely, because I'm kind of like, I think that's more of like a safety thing for myself, but I can.
Yeah, we don't have your therapist on
Yeah,
speed dial,
that's
so
why I'm like, hey, gotta call her up. Like, how you doing? Just so you know, this is what I'm doing right now. She's like, oh, okay, so longer session. Got it. No, I'm joking. But so it started off as a workshop. Also, because I was underage, my dad had to stay there with me, which was the weirdest thing. So he would stay there during the night, then he would leave to go to work during the day, and it was like this whole thing. Um,
huh.
so, and it happened actually in a hotel in Easton. So that was something like driving past it, like on Route 50, I would just be reminded of it.
So legally he had to be there at night.
Legally, he had to be there, yeah, because I was underage, so I couldn't be there on my own. It
How
was
many
these
people were
strangers.
in the hotel?
It was.
I mean, I don't mean passers,
Oh yeah, no,
in the
I kept a
program. Yeah.
tally of all the people coming in and out. No, it was. I think there were anywhere from 15 to 20 of us in there, I want to say.
Were you the only minor?
Yes, I was the only minor.
And all of these were adult men who had voluntarily entered the program?
Yeah, so that's the thing too. It was conversion therapy / there was another section of people that came in that were like sex addicts, that it was like men who have like, a lot of those people, it was like men who like cheated on their wives or something like that. They kept us
Or
like
liked pornography.
liked pornography. Yeah. So like in those things we would convene, but then like on the other things they kept us like very like separate too. So
you had a smaller group for just people with same-sex attraction.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And it was, like I said, it started off, it seemed at first that I was like, okay, maybe this isn't like a bad thing. It's not as like harsh as I thought it was going to be, because it was more like we would sit down and they would like show us videos to be like, oh, this is what happens like if you choose this lifestyle. And then it was like some dude like burning, and I was like, okay.
Ooh.
I mean, I say I probably shouldn't have said, oh, it's not as bad as what I thought it was going to be, because that's still bad.
Yeah, that's like Clockwork Orange. They're prying your eyes open and saying,
kind of, I mean, that's sort of where it like started going. They couldn't do anything like too bad, because again, minor. So that was something that kind of kept me safe from a lot of it. But it was
so the older folks were subjected to more than you.
It was, there were, yeah. There was a separate room that the older ones that I noticed that they would get like taken away to, and I noticed it was sort of like the same setup in the sense of it was, they had to like watch these videos, and it's like those things that you see in like kind of like horror movies where people are like being, I guess like you said, like Clockwork Orange, that you're being forced to like watch this thing, like your eyes are like essentially like open. They weren't like holding their eyes open, but they had to like sit in this room and like stare at this thing, and they were being like forced to.
But it's not all videos of hell, right? I mean, what else are they showing you?
It's videos were a large portion, workbooks were another portion. They would bring in people for like success stories, quote unquote. There were more like like slap on the wrist type things, that it started to get like a little bit more of like the physical like route to kind of keep people in line a little bit. I will leave that one more so vague, because I don't want any of it to like trigger anyone, but
Sure.
kind of torture-esque is a good description of where it started going.
So it just like built up to that for everyone in the program, regardless of your response?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So that was just part of how it worked.
We had to like revisit traumas that happened to us. We had to act out traumas that happened to us. There was this one thing that trauma was a huge thing that they just kept like forcing. Because I mean, to some degree, there are like mental things that they do stem from trauma, obviously, but
You mean
they
like fetishes,
like fetishes, yeah. More like
conceivably?
fetishes, violence to a degree, yeah. uh we had to draw out what specific moments of trauma were that happened to us. um
But the
then
theory here is that your sexuality is tied to trauma.
basically
You
that's
weren't, as Lady Gaga says, born this way,
yeah, that
but
was the
something
one
happened
thing.
to you
If someone said that, they genuinely like they would get in trouble and like be sent out of the room or something. I
because
don't know what happened,
something
but
was done to you that gayed you.
it's yeah, something happened
Yeah,
to you that gauge you. Hmm.
I see. So if they could find this trauma, they could. Were these professional therapists? Was anyone here a professional therapist?
Yeah, actually. So the people that
Okay,
were running it were part
that's
of
frightening.
this. It is very frightening because they were therapists, but they would go under like Christianity therapy, which
Yeah,
is
I know. It's
yeah.
a subset, like family therapists. Sometimes you have Christian family therapists.
Hmm.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, I ended up one of the ones who was there was like two guys who were like the main guys that were leading it. Um, that's actually how we ended up finding out about it was because my parents sent me to this therapist, and then he was like, "Oh, well, we have this workshop, quote unquote workshop, is how they were presenting it to people, uh, that we think would be good." And then, so essentially, it was my therapist that was up there that was putting me through conversion therapy. So
Oh my goodness.
and then I had to continue like seeing him uh for geez, I think 6 months after I got out. My parents
How long was the
oh yeah,
therapy? The
that I was
session,
there.
the
Or
hotel.
well, I mean, they would last throughout like the day, but it was like for close to like a month, I want to say.
Were you staying there for a month, or were you in and out?
So for the beginning portion of it, I was, or maybe it was, I don't exactly remember specifically like the time. I know I was staying there for a week, and then it was like outpatient, quote unquote.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a
Mhm.
week straight, and then it was in and out of the hotel for the
Yeah.
month. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, and then you kept seeing this
Yes. I
person
ended up
for six
seeing.
months afterwards.
Then my parents stopped me from going there because, ironically, I ended up convincing him that being gay is okay. Like, it was weird.
What?
It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. So, like, I'm stubborn enough that I convinced a conversion therapist that being gay is fine. Like, you just live your life. Like, it was the strangest thing. He started to tell me that we needed to have like family sessions eventually. Like after this was about like a month or so after I got out. Um, and he was like, "Yeah, we got to bring them in because now we're starting to get to like your family trauma essentially."
Because
And
we blame them, right? Like they raised you. So if you're gay and it's based in trauma, then it must
yeah,
be something your parents did,
exactly. And I was because it's not like I
right?
was a very sheltered child. It's not like I went anywhere. Like it,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I guess the neighbor could have come and played doctor with you or something, but
I lived in the
generally, right?
woods. It was like there was no one around.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
we blame
like
mom and dad.
we blame mom and dad. Yeah. So he started. He didn't actually. He didn't even ask me. He just told them to come in one session, and then they just walked in, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I guess we're doing this now." Um, and then as the last remaining 5 months, it was around, I guess, like the last month or so. We like I was having more like talks with the therapist specifically, and I was obviously because therapy, but like I just was like, I feel what I feel. Like, do you think that I would still choose to be this way after like physically, mentally, and emotionally, like what I've been put through over this past year? I was like, I would be insane if anyone thought that I am choosing this. I was like, I've actively tried to not choose it, and here I am. Like, I still like and I love who I love. That doesn't change. And eventually, he just was like, I see what you mean. Like, yeah. He was like, you're normal. Like, you're not like insane or anything. So I
Hmm.
convinced him. Hmm.
So his own therapy failed
Yeah.
you in
Hmm.
that way,
Yeah.
and that convinced him. I mean, there's a kind of like theodicy then in a certain way. Like if he believes
Hmm.
that his therapy can cure the gay, then people are not born gay.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't be cured, then why
Yeah.
would God create gay people to
Exactly.
punish them?
Because I actively would tell him, I was like, I don't want this. I was like, it's causing it, or at the point, because the only people I was around were my family. I was like, it's causing the people that should matter the most to me the most like duress, and I don't want to do that to them. And yet here I am, still like, oh, they're like cute, or like I like them, like they make me feel nice, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens next? You just go back to you, but you're you. It's over.
It's over. It was more like back and forth with my family. They started forcing me to go to church more with them because they weren't on board. And
So there was a fracturing for you then with your Christianity.
yeah, there definitely was. The fracturing definitely happened like when the forcing me, because not even like during the conversion therapy played a huge part in it, but the moment that it really started to like break for me was when my family was like forcing me to go with them and using it as a means to tell me that there was something wrong with me, because it took away this what I had learned and been like taught growing up, is that there is this being out there, God, that like he loves you no matter what. But now I'm being told that he doesn't. There's like stipulations to his love apparently, and that's like, it was conflicting with me because I was like, no, that's not like what you all told me before, and that's what I'm going with, is like what you all initially told me, not like what you're telling me now. So like,
So
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
So walking into conversion therapy, you thought, I'm evil. I need to get right with my family.
Yeah.
Walking out of the experience with the therapist, were you, did conversion therapy cure you of the idea that you were spiritually evil for being gay,
I
for
think
having gay feelings?
it definitely, in a way, it played a part into it, because it was more so like with like any sort of like tests or anything, you come up with like a theory and then it's not like proven until there's tests that like prove it. And it was like, I went through this thing that I was told it was supposed to like fix me of this thing. Now I'm seeing that it doesn't. Like nothing has changed about me. And so the initial like, oh, I'm an evil person, started to just like slowly just drift away from me. So yeah, it definitely it ironically it played a part in like my healing and like almost like my forgiveness of myself in a way.
Boy, this might save some people if we can.
I hope so.
We can
That's
get
my
this
goal.
played to some of these parents.
Yeah.
If they learn that in fact conversion therapy can teach you that your feelings are not evil and that you are not evil.
And I think yeah, exactly. And I think another like big portion of it, speaking on like this experience, like speaking to other people, because I just went specifically in like college, I guess, which you were there for.
I was there.
You were there. I started like in my classes, I would just talk about it to be like, hey, like this is the thing. But then like even prior to that, during my like senior year, which was like the year that I reemerged, so many people were telling me like whether it was like students or like teachers and stuff, they're like, wow, like this is really like inspirational that you've been through this and you're still you despite of it. And
yeah,
they were telling me this, but I wasn't necessarily like believing it. Like it was nice hearing it, like I loved it, and then I was like, okay, cool, I'm glad that this can help other people too. But at the same time, I wasn't believing that I was a good person. But then like through like the repetition and then people telling me to be like, I want my like kids to be like you, like this is awesome, like they came out because of you, and like people were coming to me to be like, I think that I might be a part of the community too. And I was like, why am all of a sudden that like I'm being put into this position? And I felt like guilty about it because I still wasn't like completely like out of the woods yet with it. Like I still was working like on myself and trying to like accept myself. But like almost through that, and like other people saying that I was being an inspiration, they were being an inspiration to me too, to be like, yeah, they're right too. Like we're good. Like this is fine.
So it's not really, I mean, we're being a little cute about conversion therapy curing you of feeling
no,
evil.
it's
I think it certainly, from what you've described, it played a role.
it's
But it was
definitely played a
being
role.
out, right? Right? I mean, that's being
Yeah.
out, being
Yeah.
out with people, having
Mm-hmm.
people, particularly at college. I know we all,
Yeah. Yeah.
loved you as you were, right? And still do.
Oh, that's good.
That's what really cured
Yeah,
that feeling.
it's really like it's having that support is definitely what is the most crucial. Because if I didn't have it, like specifically during that whole like summer that I was locked away, that's when the like heaviest parts, because there was no one around to like lift me up in any way and be like, hey, like we still love you, like no matter what. I wasn't getting that from the people that I was around. And so when I finally like reemerged into the world and I was released, I was like, I got like the support system. And that's like the one thing that I always tell people anytime that I have had them come up to me and be like, hey, like I'm not sure. And I was just like, even if you're not sure, just find people who like will be there for you, whether you are or you aren't. Having the people to like show that they love you is the most crucial thing that you need or could use at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
I'm going to say on behalf of the confessors, thank you for sharing this story. I know it's a tough one to tell,
Yeah.
but I appreciate it. I really appreciate you putting this out there.
Yeah. What if my thing has always been, it's a rough thing. And if anyone, I guess I'll put this out there too. If anyone ever wants to actually like reach out and learn a little bit more than like me just kind of brushing across the surface of what happened, because there's definitely like a lot more like traumatic things that like happen in conversion therapy. I'm always willing to talk about it, because I want to be that voice and to put it out there that if anyone is ever feeling like how I felt, I want to be the voice that I needed in that moment, to
Yeah.
be that
Reach
like,
out,
yeah,
connect with
like
us.
exactly, like be that support that like I wished I had absolutely like anyone at the time to be like, hey, like I'm here for you no matter what, or like I'm here like if you just need to like talk about it and like get things off your chest, like whatever you like need, just like someone to listen to you. And if I like put my story out there to help other people who might be going through the same thing, who might not, whether like of any degree, just whatever I can do to help, that's just what I want to do.
Yeah. Do you want to tell people how to reach you, or do you want them to
Oh
come through
yeah.
me?
I guess yeah. So you can reach me. I guess I primarily am on Instagram, I suppose, at JKI Wheatley, Wheatley. That's it's usually the only social media that I visit. If not, if
You
they
can just
like,
find us.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can just go
Come to the
through,
website,
go to the
Discord.
website, go the Discord. I am actually, yeah, I guess that's another one. I'm on Discord a lot. You can find me there. If just anyone wants to ever like talk, I'm here.
Let's do just a bit of theology then on the way out the door here. Do you think it's possible to be gay and Christian? Got bi, gay, lesbian?
Yeah, I will say I didn't believe it, but I do believe it now. I'm where I'm at now. Specifically, I've been over the past couple of years trying to step back in a little bit. I went through a whole phase of just experiencing different religions and stuff like that to just see what fit. And it's like I keep coming back to the things that like comfort me, which ironically is the one thing that I thought despised me the most. But yeah, I think it's possible.
So there's nothing in Christianity necessarily that precludes gay people.
No, there is a movie that is coming out within the next few years or so. It is going to be called, anyone can look it up now. They have a couple things out. It's called 1946. There was a moment that people decided to twist things. Like it's common knowledge that the Bible has been changed to fit certain things, like in the past, like with kings and stuff. And there was a moment in 1946 that was the first time that they ever actually entered the word homosexuality into the Bible. Up until that point, it was not there. So, yeah.
Where did they put it? I don't really know.
Leviticus. it's
Oh,
in there.
wow.
The whole
Yeah, but
you can't
we
mix
don't follow
fabrics.
Leviticus.
I know, it's the whole you can't mix fabrics, you can't, like the laws that
Yeah.
they set.
Nobody does any of that. That's the worst place to put it if you really want to
Exactly.
exclude gay people, because we're
Yeah.
like getting tattoos and having beards and
My
not
parents are
marrying our
pastors and
sister's
they have
widows.
tattoos. Yeah, it's like no one listens to it anymore. Like, be gay, have fun, read the Bible if you want.
Yeah. So do
Yeah.
you think Jesus would be all right with gay people?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a cool dude even then. Like he was just helping people. I don't think he never once like discriminated against anyone. So like why would he have discriminated against us? So don't let anyone tell you that he ever would discriminate against you. That's my stance.
Yeah, it's true. There's no evidence for it in the
Yeah,
Gospels, right?
exactly.
He certainly could have brought it up.
Could have.
If he had strong feelings about it. Didn't sound like he kept silent on the other topics.
Exactly. He was a very vocal man. Like
Right. Throw out the money changers. That would be a great place to say, and the gays, but he didn't say that.
he didn't. I didn't see that
He
anywhere.
stopped at the
So
money
he
changers.
stopped at the money changers. That's the people we really got to be going after.
Right. That's the truth, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how about your spirituality today? Your sexuality and your spirituality. So you're seeking a spiritual home.
Yeah, that's where my current journey is that I'm trying to find where I am, and I still like I pray, not every day, but like I pray like when I'm feeling like down, I will still like read scriptures that like would comfort me like back in the day. Like specifically like Philippians 4:13 is it's called the 10-fingered prayer. And I say that to myself. Actually, I never told. Actually, no one has ever known this insider information on me. Specifically, when I was doing shows and stuff with you, still, I would say the prayer to myself 3 times before every single show.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a mantra that I made for myself that I would like say a Bible verse to myself before I like went out onto the stage. So
I would always meditate before performing, so that makes sense. Similar idea. You're centering yourself and
I think that's
opening yourself, right?
Yeah, I found that connection between honestly like the meditations and stuff that you would teach us. I was like, this really like it obviously it is different between like guided meditations and stuff. I was like, but this feels no different really than when I'm having my like spiritual moments. I was like, I'm still meditating then, ironically. So
But the religious content, it doesn't like carry. I guess, you know, like if you get food poisoning, you never want to eat that thing again. But the spiritual content, the religious content, the biblical content doesn't carry that sort of, you know what I mean, stain with it.
No, not really. I mean, like obviously the scriptures that have been twisted in the Bible, those I like stay away from. But like the ones that I knew would give me like comfort and like guidance when I need it, I still go back to them occasionally.
And you can see yourself in a congregation sometime.
I'm very like divided on that because I've found that I was always taught growing up too that ironically it is a relationship, not a religion, is what my parents would always tell us. And that kind of has like stuck with me, that I would hear other people like talk about it too, and that it's like it's individual. Like you get out of it like what you need. So if you just have a little moment at home, that's still like a religious or like a relationship like moment with God, and I'm still able to have those moments just like when I'm alone and I don't necessarily see I know that it's good and like practicing to get around other people who are also practicing, but like I found that like I can just have my moments like here and like really like when I need it the most, I guess.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it continues to function in a Christian paradigm.
It does, yeah. It's like specifically like music too is like what kind of connects me to it, and it's like a lot of like Christian music will there's some good feel good songs that you can like find in there that like I just like play that in the background, and then I just evaluate like what's going on, and then I just kind of am like, okay, like here's a verse that gives me like a few inspirational words, and then also this song is also feeling like very like inspirational to me, and it's giving me like this uplifting feeling, and also it's like giving me some good advice. And that's kind of where I feel like I probably will stay. Who knows, like maybe one day I might start seeing what the churches that have like the pride flags are about. Because like I've had like a lot of friends and stuff who like go to churches that are welcoming and stuff, and they will say like, hey, like you should do this, and I'm like, maybe. But I think the being forced to go is what's kind of my drawback. That like stubborn nature is like holding me back from it a little bit.
The old guilt. The guilt is what drives you to church.
Yeah, the old guilt of just, yeah, that you have to go, and like being forced to go to. I don't want to be like forced to do something. I want to like experience this because this is what like I'm choosing to do, and this is what's right for me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
I think that's good. I think that's good. I feel better now. Now I feel good. I gotta get that out. I was like, oh, probably not all conversion therapy. Don't want to be that dark.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a nice balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling, Luke, that the other folks are going to also have similar ideas that, you know, you can maintain some kind of Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because Jesus never said no.
He never said no.
And Leviticus, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
There's so much in Leviticus. That's utterly absurd. I didn't realize it all rested on Leviticus. I thought maybe Paul ran his mouth.
Yeah, he ran his mouth about Christian people, and then he became one. So, you know,
but he never mentioned gays in any context.
The New Testament never mentions gays, and I feel that's something that no one ever pays attention to. And I'm like, that's, even if someone did get their hands on it and changed it, when like the original term wasn't even like, it was talking about, it was more so going into the when a older person lies with a younger person, basically, is the route that it was going, which is illegal and not good. And then they decided to shift it, and I think that's also where a lot of the stemming of assuming that people who are gay are also, you know,
pedophiles.
Yeah, that's where
the
that
grooming
stems from. The grooming.
I mean, you were just in Florida, man.
I know.
Home of the groomers, says your former governor.
I know. It was a scary place. Happy to be in Seattle.
Right. It's far more progressive there. I mean, I'm sure you have the gay churches everywhere.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen a church yet that doesn't have a gay flag. And I'm like, all right, maybe that's a sign. God, are you like talking to me? Like, is this something I should like do? Like, what's going on here?
All right, Jake, the Knight of the Dangling Serpent.
Let's call me Master of the Dangling Serpent.
We can elevate you. This was great. Thank you for taking the time to do this for us. Yeah. I know you're busy these days out in Seattle.
Yeah.